I'm Bruce Denton. I worked at Horizon Elementary while Kelton was a student there. It's no surprise that Kelton's life impacted so many people. He spent 6 years at Horizon Elementary and touched many of our lives there. He joined us as a kindergartner and seemed to have life figured out from the beginning, always knowing what was really important. Nori Park, Kelton's kindergarten teacher, said, "I had the privilege of being Kelton's teacher when he was in kindergarten. I still remember the first day I met him at our kindergarten orientation in September 2002. He came into the class wearing his red and blue coat, holding his mom and dad's hands, nervous, but very excited about school. He had a big white smile on, and that smile is the one that reminds me of Kelton when I think of him. This time of year, Valentine's Day, brings back memories of our kindergarten Valentine's Day party. Kelton's parents and his grandma from Thailand came to volunteer for our class celebration. It was so obvious how much Kelton was loved and cared for by his family. He was a student with such a caring, cheerful, and warm heart. All of his classmates loved him and wanted to be friends with him. His cheerful smile shined wherever he went. He was always a good example to others and leader of the class. He was a student who made his former teacher proud. Kelton was an inspiration to everybody around him. I'm so blessed and lucky to have known him. I will miss Kelton terribly." Things only got better in first grade. Kristen Denning, Kelton's first grade teacher, said, "I would like people to know that even at his youngest, Kelton was a shining star. He was always a model of excellence and kindness to all his classmates in first grade. I remember a time when he came to the rescue of a not-so-popular student at recess. The student followed and was hurt. Kelton rushed over to help him up and helped him walk over to the recess teacher. He set an example for the other students who treated that child a little better after they saw what Kelton had done. I was so proud of him and will never forget what he did. We talked about that often in first grade to remind us of how we should treat others. That was just Kelton, always doing the kind thing. Without even trying, he showed others to do the same. Kelton will always be remembered for being the kind of person we all should be. We will miss him terribly." Lori Wolford did her student teaching in Kelton's first grade class. She says, "Since it was my first year of being in classroom, student teaching, everything seemed to make an impression and impact on me, and at times things were quite overwhelming. I remember when I took over the classroom, I could always rely on Kelton. I could trust him to help me out with routines, to show me where things were if I needed something, to run things down to the office for me, or even for a smile when it was a rough day. He was extremely helpful and kind towards his classmates and staff. I enjoyed watching him grow up at Horizon and continue to demonstrate all his amazing qualities. I feel very blessed to have met and worked with Kelton, as I believe he taught me way more than I taught him. Many Horizon students come and go, but we were fortunate to Kelton with us all the way through. Shannon McKinney, Kelton's fourth grade teacher, remembers when, as a fourth grader, he got his diagnosis. She said he always faced his diagnosis with courage. When he got the tumor removed, he asked if he could bring it to show the class. She said, "I was all for it. His mom didn't think it would be such a good idea." I remember going home and telling my husband that I hope we raise a son like Kelton. He always struck me as the kind of person we all want to be. Mrs. Salinas taught Kelton in fifth grade and sent her thoughts from Colorado. She says, "By the time Kelton reached fifth grade, he had developed the reputation as a student every teacher wanted. I never realized how lucky I was to have the opportunity of being his teacher. On the first day of school, I quickly learned what a genuine person he really was and how true everyone's statements about him had been. As we got to know each other, he told me that he wanted to be a baseball player and he could play many different sports. It was obvious from the start that he was also very dedicated to being a successful learner and enjoyed being at school. The importance of being his friend generated like electricity with everyone. Kelton was a natural leader and model for what we all hope our students and children will be. He was chosen for lead roles and positions in group activities, assemblies, or programs for the school, and of course as host of our school TV news show. Everyone looked up to Kelton, teachers and kids alike. We all knew he was someone we could count on, and he participated humbly in each role. When Kelton had to start missing school due to doctor's appointments and hospital stays, the entire school rose up to support him, with his own fifth grade friends and classmates leading the way. The camaraderie and love, all in honor of Kelton, permeated throughout our classroom and school each day. When I asked the class what they would like to do for Kelton, a stream of responses came forth as each child shared what they thought he would like best. That year will always be a vivid memory in my mind of kids wearing blue bands on their wrists as Kids for Kelton spread throughout the community. Kelton wrote me a note of thanks for being his teacher and teaching him all he needed to know. I'm sure he never realized he taught me so many more important things, how to appreciate life and the people who surround me. I'm so thankful each day for having the opportunity to know Kelton. When facing uncertainty, he taught us how to be courageous and strong. I will always remember how much his smile and presence brought joy around the encounter. Kelton touched so many lives, and I'm grateful mine was one of them. Kelton's spirit and memories of my truly most favorite year of teaching will remain with me always. When Kelton was in 5th grade, I was the dean of students, so I didn't have a classroom of my own. I was fortunate to get to know Kelton when we brought back an old Horizon tradition, Owl TV. Kelton auditioned for, and of course, got the part of host. He and his co-hosts, Abby Whitmore and Michael Wilkinson, made a fantastic team and were a complete joy to work with. Kelton, his co-host, Miss Richter, Mrs. Woodard, and I could have fun and laugh, and then get back on track to film more of the show, at least most of the time. I usually wrote the scripts for the show. I started by writing out all the dialogue, and then assigned the parts to the 3 hosts. It seemed that without fail, Kelton's script contained all the most difficult words and names to pronounce. It wasn't intentional, but it always worked out. If there was a tongue twister, Kelton got the line. Sure, this doesn't surprise you, but Kelton didn't complain. He laughed about it and carried on like a trooper. I've worked in schools for 17 years, and some of my fondest memories have to do with Kelton. My best school experience ever was, without a doubt, Kelton's car wash. It was all about Kelton and embodied the qualities Kelton exemplified, about loving, helping, caring, building community, and bringing people together. And it was fun, lots of fun. But as great as those 2 days were, and as many staff, students, parents, and community members contributed, all of that combined really amounted to just a tiny portion of what Kelton contributed to our lives. At Horizon, we loved Kelton. He was a good student, a good athlete, and the host of a TV show. But those things didn't define him. Kelton was and is known for the quality of his character. His kindness, compassion, and love. Even to the very end, when nobody would have blamed him for being angry, Kelton continued to carry on like a trooper. He was the same thoughtful, caring, selfless person he was from the start. I don't know that I've ever witnessed a better example of God's commands in Mark 12:30 and 31. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and with all your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Kelton, you're the kind of person we all want to and need to be. Thank you for inspiring us, setting a great example in touching lives.
Hi, my name is Abby, and I'm one of Kelton's friends. Kelton and I grew up together. We lived just over a block away from each other, and we spent the first 3 years of school together in the same class. During school, the best part, of course, was recess. In kindergarten, girls chased boys, and Kelton was our favorite target. In first grade, we were sitting on the rug in Mrs. Denning's class. We were sitting next to each other, and we started playing a game where hands were hugs, and we would climb up your arm and tickle you, causing us both to giggle uncontrollably. Unfortunately, our game was cut short because Mrs. Denning had told us to stop. We spent other times together, but what really brought us together was Howl TV in 5th grade. Along with Michael, we spent a lot of time together, filming those episodes early in the morning, constantly screwing up our lines and trying not to laugh. My favorite memory was the St. Patrick's Day episode, and Mr. Denton brought in some homemade marshmallows for the staff. We convinced him to give us some. They were so good that we followed him around asking for more. We begged and laughed and were successful once again until we had to go to class. One day, Kelton and I were at the park near our house, and we were talking. He told me that he wished that he didn't have cancer because he couldn't go to school and be with his friends. This broke my heart because all this 11-year-old boy wanted was to be able to go to school and a lot of us take that for granted. All he wanted was something as simple as that, but instead he got pain and struggle that no human being should have to go through. even though many do every day. On February 4th, I went to Kelton's house carrying a box of trophy cupcakes as a gift my mother had gotten while she was in Seattle. Alana came to the door and let me come in, and I showed her the cupcakes. She led me upstairs, and when we got there, Alana showed Kelton the cupcakes. He smiled and told me that he had seen them on the Travel Channel on TV. He wanted to get them, and he wanted to get them. I was happy that I was able to make him smile one last time. His bravery helped him through his tremendous struggle with cancer. But I will always remember the little boy that I grew up with, and every time I think of him, I remember the little boy that I tickled and laughed with in first grade. He was strong, funny, sensitive, accepting, smart, and my friend.
Hi, I'm Jonathan. First of all, I would like to say I loved Kelton. He was my best friend, and he was like a brother to me. He was a great person to know. For those that got to know him, know what he was like, he was always there for you. He was the kind of guy that was truly all ears. He could relate to you even if you never went through what you did. He would always try to put a smile on your face. He would notice if something was wrong even if you tried to hide it. In this world, there is not many people like him. It was my honor to have met him in my life. I remember one time when I was about to start school in 4th grade, and everybody was having a great time laughing. And me and Kelton couldn't do nothing but laugh. At that moment in my life, I told him that we would be best friends to the day I die. And I will stay true to that promise forever. God blessed me with so much. For Kelton is someone that you don't just meet around the corner. Kelton was a unique, one-of-a-kind guy, and just the fact to know him was truly a blessing. To me, Kelton was not only a friend, but, like I said, a brother. He meant the world to me. He was my first best friend, and the days I got to spend with him, it will remain in my heart. He changed my life in so many ways. He was an amazing person to know. Some people say life is nothing without friendship. To me, this is true because without Kelton, life would never be the same. He was the type of guy that would strive and not give up until he saw you smile. It seemed like his only goal was to make people smile. He was full of joy, and I would not give up my memories for anything in the world. In our hearts forever, Kelton. Love you, bro.
Hi, I'm Haley. I'm one of Kelton's many friends. Everyone here had a connection with Kelton, from friends to family. In my case, I was one of his best friends. From kindergarten to 4th grade, him and I came really close. We played soccer together, attended each other's parties, had the same teachers, played tag, and hung out and watched movies. He was better than a best friend. He was like a brother that I was in love with. When I moved to schools in 5th grade, he told me to never forget him. I responded by saying, how could I? That day he gave me a really special gift that I wear every day. How he touched so many people. He will never be forgotten. He was my main man, and I love him with all my heart. Alana and Richard, I'd like to thank you for letting me love him and be a part of his life. I have a poem. I sit around and wonder and watch the days go by. I look at all the pictures and ask, why did he have to die? You've always been there for me because you're one of my best friends, and I will always be there for you until the very end. But now it's time to let you go. Your spirit is not free, even though you won't really be gone because you live inside of me. So when we have to leave you at your resting place, I will always remember your beautiful smiling face. This is hardly a goodbye, and I will try hard not to weep anymore, because now you're in a better place than you were ever before. Even though I will miss you, and I'll think about you every day, you will always be one of my best friends, and that's all I have to say. I love you, and I'll miss you, Kelton.
Hello, I'm Grant. I would like to say that Kelton was probably he was actually. Kelton was one of my bestest friends that I ever had. I known him since kindergarten. He was like a brother to me. He was just kind. He was the kind of person that would make you laugh until you cry. I would remember the times where me and him would just do howdy pee together. It was very fun. I can still remember the time where he would always come over to my house and we would just play baseball together. I'm sorry. Kelton was a very wonderful man. Kelton will be in my life forever.
When I first heard about it at school, I couldn't believe it, but it slowly occurred to me that Kelton lived a very wonderful life. Kelton was well loved, and he had done so many things on earth, and I'm sure he'll do much more in heaven. I will forever be grateful to have known him. Kelton will always be in our hearts.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Phillip from Olympic View Middle School. I was Kelton's family and consumer science teacher for a short time. I'm here to read some thoughts from some teachers that were his middle school teachers. The first is from Carrie Torgensen, his block teacher in 7th grade. She says, the first time I met Kelton was through his webpage. I had heard about a 6th grader who was going through cancer, and I was in admiration of how this young man could be so strong. The next year I heard that I was to have him in my block class, and I was so excited to get to know him. Unfortunately, it was a rough year, and he was not always able to make it to school. When he was able to come, he came first and second period, so I was lucky enough to have him in class. One thing I noticed right away was his smile. It was not the smile of a sick kid, but the smile of someone who was truly happy. Everyone in class wanted him at their table. Everyone wanted to be near the boy whose spirit was contagious. He and his friends would always wait by my door to come in, and he was the kindest, gentlest soul, ready with a smile and a great sense of humor. He was amazingly witty. At a time in most kids' lives when they wish they could be anywhere else but in class, here he was doing all he could to be here. It was the little things he loved, the high five in the hall, the quiet jokes from friends, the ideas shared in class, the school experience that he never took for granted. I know that in heaven he is at peace. His pain is gone, even though he is no longer here. His legacy of grace and strength will live on. The next is from Margaretta Perry, his art teacher. He endeared himself to all of us when he came back in 7th grade. I had boys begging to sit with him and be buddies. They loved him. He was always upbeat, didn't talk about himself, just enjoyed the people around him and the things he was able to do. I miss seeing him this year. He was so young to go through what he did, but was so gracious about it. And then from Erin McKay, math teacher, says, I will say that I was amazed as to how positive and happy Kelton was in my class. You would never have guessed what he was going through. All the students really liked him. When he was not in class, you definitely missed his presence. It was a privilege working with him. Scott Rennick, PE teacher, says, I did not get to spend much time with Kelton as treatment often made it impossible for him to be active. However, it did not take long for me to learn about his passion for life and relationships. He would become upset when he could not attend school, and it was so hard for him not to be active or able to participate in sports. I would often go home and tell my family about this courageous boy at school, how he would hardly be able to walk because of the sores from treatment, and yet he would continue to come to school, even if sometimes it was only for a couple of periods. He loved being with his friends. Ask anyone that knew him, and they will tell you what a special person Kelton Little was. All of us were lucky enough to spend time with him, who were lucky enough to spend time with him, are better for having done so. I think if he could talk to us today, he would not want us to cry and mourn his passing, but instead live our own lives with a renewed passion and to treat each day as a gift. We all should try and be a little bit more like Kelton. Next, from Lisa Morris, school counselor. This world is a better place today because Kelton Little is in it. He touched the hearts of more people in 14 years than some people do in a lifetime. I will forever remember his smile and truly kind and gentle spirit. Due to his illness, he was not able to make it to school very often. But when he was feeling well enough to make it in, there was a different feel at OB. You could tell how well liked he was by the way the students would run around telling others that Kelton is here today. The way Kelton battled this disease for years is truly inspirational. Before I met Kelton, I didn't realize that heroes came in such small packages. No matter how much pain he was in, I never saw him without a smile on his face. He is one of the bravest people I have ever known. I feel blessed to have known him. And lastly, for myself, what can I say? Kelton was an inspiration to all. He was on my class list for some time before I met him, but I felt as if I knew him because of these students talking about him regularly. They shared what a true friend he was and how much fun he was to be with. In fact, they focused so much on his personality and not his illness that it wasn't clear why he wasn't in school. When I finally met Kelton, we were beginning our sewing unit. Kelton never spoke about what he couldn't do, but instead, with the other students and myself, tried to find ways to work around and with his disability. I believe that every life, no matter how short, has a purpose. Kelton's life has a purpose and will continue to bless as he is remembered. To his parents, losing a child is the hardest thing you will go through. Remembering him is the greatest gift you can give to the world. So my prayers are with you, his family, and friends as we adjust to this life without Kelton. I now speak for myself and all of OU staff and students when I say thank you for allowing us to have participated in his life and the celebration. We have all changed for the better because of his touching our lives. Thank you.